Hello again. This is Satan's Trilogy. I am reading Book 2, Chapter 4, and this will be reading 63. I am the author and the narrator. Please sit back, relax, and let the story unfold. Suddenly, the Phoenix tossed Iron Dan out of the ring, through the ropes and onto the floor. It was in front of Esther and her friends. Iron Dan stood up and made a menacing gesture towards the Phoenix as he paced back and forth, appraising the situation. His bodyguards had immediately come to his side, watching for an intruder that might attempt to inflict additional damage on their champion. Everyone in the stadium was yelling, and none of it was discernible. Iron Dan didn't care about the crowd. He was focused on returning to the ring. His two bodyguards were close by. They would prevent an overly zealous fans from interfering with Iron Dan's actions. If professional wrestlers were on the floor attacking Iron Dan, they would stand back. That was not part of their job. They did not deal with professional wrestlers. The two women looked a lot alike, and no wonder, they were twins. Their father had been a promising professional wrestler when a car accident had taken his life. The twins were only 18 at the time, and it obviously changed their lives forever. Danielle Elizabeth and Tracy Ann had enjoyed the wrestling atmosphere with their father and luckily had inherited his strong body structure. This, along with weightlifting, gave the girls the edge they needed to be part of the professional wrestling circuit. They had returned to the W.O.W. the day they reached 21 years of age. Esther had noticed the two women, now in their mid-20s, were fit, and she judged from their actions that they could handle most conflicts in their path. Curiously, one of the twins looked Esther straight on, smiled, and winked at her. Esther was surprised that the woman had broken her concentration for a split second and was pleasantly amused. As the referee backed the Phoenix away from the ropes and counted the seconds that Iron Dan was out of the ring, Iron Dan jumped up and quickly entered the ring between the ropes. The Phoenix quickly met him. The two men started a battle of forearm smashes against the other's chest. Tiring of this, the Phoenix grabbed the arms of Iron Dan and pulled him forward while dropping backwards to the mat. The Phoenix used his legs on the chest of Iron Dan to propel him over himself, landing Iron Dan on his back 6 feet away. Iron Dan crashed onto the mat, hitting hard and creating a loud sound that sent shockwaves to those close by. Not moving, he held still for a few moments, assessing the damage, if any, to his body. The Phoenix was strutting about the stage, playing to the crowd and lifting his arms to encourage the fans to yell even more than the already deafening sound. As he moved about, Iron Dan quickly moved his legs and wrapped them around the Phoenix, pulling him to the mat and placing him into a leg lock. Crossing the legs of the Phoenix, Iron Dan now had the advantage, and he was exerting excruciating pain on the Phoenix by leveraging his weight on the Phoenix's legs. Mr. John was alongside the action and looked to see if this was more pain than the Phoenix could handle. In some cases, wrestlers would concede matches when trapped in an inescapable body hold and if the pain involved was too great to endure. The Phoenix was close to the ropes. He dragged himself along with Iron Dan to within reach of the ropes, and Mr. John made Iron Dan release his hold. Any wrestler on the ropes could not be pinned. Dragging himself under the ropes and off the mat, the Phoenix was away from the quick retaliation of Iron Dan, and he quickly tried to work some blood back into his legs. Walking about on the floor, the Phoenix rubbed his legs and was soon ready to return to the ring. Mr. John warned Iron Dan back and away from the ropes while the Phoenix was trying to return to the ring. As the Phoenix entered between the ropes, Iron Dan ran forward and hit him hard into the ropes. The force slingshot them both into the center of the ring. Neither fell to the mat, and they each tried to get a control hold on the other as they moved about, grabbing the other's arms. Black Gothic Band was adding bass and sounds to the entire wrestling match. Noah was adding constant bass rhythms, while Ivory tossed in some sharp chords on the keyboard. The wrestlers blended perfectly with the event, and seldom did anyone think of the band as adding the musical sounds effects. It all seemed to blend together unnoticed. Suddenly, the Phoenix lifted Iron Dan and tossed him over his back, with the two of them rolling backwards for a moment. Iron Dan ended up on his shoulders and in an upside-down position. This was a favorite pinning move for the Phoenix. Iron Dan was unable to escape. He was pinned in the center of the mat, unable to reach the ropes and incapable of escaping the hold. The referee, Mr. John, was on his knees counting 3 seconds, and the match was over. Iron Dan had been pinned. Jumping up, the Phoenix quickly raised his hands and strutted about the ring as the fans cheered their champion. Victorious again, the Phoenix accepted the cheers of his fans as Iron Dan quickly left the ring, ignored by the audience. Michael Wade returned to the ring, holding his signature golden microphone. Suddenly, the ring was full of people, family, friends, fans, and officials. Michael Wade stood in the center of the ring and announced the results. Ladies and gentlemen, the first match of the evening was ended in 36 minutes, with the Phoenix pinning his opponent to remain heavyweight champion of the W.O.W. Michael Wade turned about as he spoke in order to address the entire stadium. Grabbing the microphone from Michael Wade, the Phoenix started to explain to his fans that he had toyed with the challenger. During the first part of the match, I love a challenger that doesn't know what he is doing. This is a prime example. The Phoenix was walking about the ring, talking to the fans while Michael Wade and Mr. John both waited for the Phoenix to return to the center of the ring for the ceremonious raising of his arms. This would signify his having won the match. The Phoenix continued his dialogue for a few minutes, and then, as quickly as he had walked away from Michael Wade, he returned to the center of the ring, and Mr. John and Michael Wade, standing on each side of the Phoenix, raised his arms, signifying his win. The lights in the arena had dimmed, and strobe lighting was placed on the champion as his arms were raised in victory. The fans had gone wild, and the yelling and clapping lasted for a long time. The Black Gothic Band was going wild, moving the fans into a frenzy with wild drum beats and crashing cymbal sounds. It was unclear if the instruments enhanced the fans' yelling or the yelling enhanced the musical chaos tossed into the stadium. It did not matter. The moment was perfect, and the Phoenix was basking in glory. Esther was watching her girlfriends. Each was applauding the Phoenix for the win and his performance. No one had taken his or her seat since the beginning of the evening's match. Esther was pleased that everyone was having fun, and the evening was going well. Everyone looked fantastic. Each young woman was a beautiful gem among the crowd. Sensing that something would happen before the end of the evening, Esther was on guard and ready to react to whatever the challenge was. 3 more matches followed, each ending with the same enthusiasm that the Phoenix had enjoyed. The evening's crowd was pleased with the performances and enjoyed the wrestling. The second and third match ended with the challenger running off so that there was no conclusion. The fourth match had a long and fierce-fought match, and the challenger won the match, with the one-time champion of the lightweight division carried off the mat. His reign had lasted for nearly 2 months, a long time for any champion in the W.O.W. Esther had noticed the stadium had quickly become cooler. The temperature had dropped to the point that everyone noticed it. Michael Wade was finishing his remarks about the last match. He waited for the wrestlers to leave the ring along with their entourage. Some very attractive women left as well. Eye candy for the males in the audience. Standing in the center of the ring, Michael Wade looked to all corners of the ring. He alone was on the wrestling mat. The lights had dimmed a bit, with the spotlight now falling onto him. Lifting the golden microphone to his mouth, he began to announce the highlight of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Wade turned as he spoke, so that he would be addressing the entire stadium. As is customary with the W.O.W., several times a year, an unknown wrestler challenge is accepted by the W.O.W. heavyweight champion. This is done as proof that the W.O.W. has the world's best wrestlers, and we run from no challenger. Michael Wade was still turning about, but walking in an ever-increasing circle as he addressed the audience. As he spoke, the Phoenix entered the ring along with his manager. They stood in the far corner out of the spotlights. As Michael Wade walked to the increasingly larger circle, some of the W.O.W. laborers placed a stand on the mat. Michael Wade took 2 steps up and stood in the center of a rotating podium. Michael Wade continued to speak as the podium slowly rotated him 360 degrees. The W.O.W. and the Phoenix have agreed to accept a challenge from an unknown wrestler that claims to be the next awakening of mankind. Michael Wade paused, then continued. In the corner to my right is the reigning heavyweight champion of the W.O.W. and we believe of the world, the Phoenix. The Phoenix stepped several feet towards the center of the ring as the spotlights found him on the mat. Holding up his own microphone, the Phoenix addressed the crowd. He looked deathly serious and began to speak. The W.O.W. has no equal. The crowd applauded in agreement and had quickly applauded their champion. The Phoenix quickly raised his right arm to calm the audience and continued, "To prove this, we accept serious challenges from unknown wrestlers that can provide strong medical evidence that they can survive 6 minutes in a wrestling ring with a W.O.W. champion." The Phoenix turned as he spoke to the fans in the stadium. "I will not run from any challenge, and I will accept any challenge presented to me by the W.O.W. The Phoenix was addressing the audience and turning to all 4 corners of the stadium as he spoke and singled out an individual in the center of the lower stadium. The Phoenix spoke to an attractive young woman. "This is what I do best, and I will never run from a challenge." The spotlights quickly moved back to Michael Wade as the crowd responded to the Phoenix with approval. The response had quickly died down as Michael Wade again addressed the audience. "The W.O.W. has accepted a challenge for the heavyweight champion of the W.O.W. and the world. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you the unknown challenger of the night. Please focus your eyes on gate 6. Tonight's challenger is..." He paused for a moment, then repeated himself. "Tonight's unknown challenger is Satan." The spotlights swirled around the stadium, finally focusing on an entryway on the main level of the stadium. Centered at the entrance to the stadium was a frail, very thin man wearing a white suit. His entire wardrobe was white with no exception. In his left jacket pocket was a red handkerchief. Looking very anemic, his pale face was only given some life when compared to the white hair on his head. It was an unconventional haircut, parted on the right side and pulled to the left, dropping slightly onto his brow. For those old enough to remember, his hair was an exaggerated Adolf Hitler look. While hard to detect from a distance, the thin man had a light gray eyes. Undaunted by the lights and the negative remarks for the crowd, the man walked down the ramp directly to the ring on the lower level. As he made his way, it became obvious that there were ushers on each side of him, dressed entirely black, and they were keeping the fans from entering the aisle and possibly creating havoc. At ringside, several more ushers appeared, and 2 of them opened the ropes so that he could enter the ring without any problems. Walking directly to Michael Wade, he stopped in front of him. Taking the golden microphone from Michael Wade, he addressed him individually and spoke. "The World Organization of Wrestlers has favored my champion with this momentous opportunity to wrestle for the World Championship in just 1 match. For this, we thank the W.O.W. My name is Dr. Mann. I am the agent for tonight's challenger. We felt his entrance should be more appropriate for that of a king. After all, he is here to save the world." Turning to his right, Dr. Mann raised his left arm and pointed to the far entrance of the lower level, used only by stage crews to bring in heavy equipment. Raising his voice, yet still maintaining his composure, Dr. Mann announced his champion. "I have the pleasure of presenting to the W.O.W. and the fans of world-class wrestling my champion and the next heavyweight champion of the world. Please welcome Satan." While the audience continued to notice the temperature drop, they waited for something to happen. Finally, a large door used to allow trucks into the lower arena slowly started to raise. The stadium temperature continued to drop, and by now everyone felt the cold. A slow and low-lying fog entered the stadium's floor. There was a loud screeching sound, that of rusty hinges moving after decades of neglect, as the door raised. Screams filled the air as if the doors from hell had just opened and the damned were begging for mercy. A few seconds, and then, as if someone had lifted the needle off a record player, the noise stopped. The stadium was in complete silence. All eyes were on the far end of the stadium. A low cloud of cold, damp mist started to roll into the stadium, slowly making its way down the aisle. A dozen men ran into the arena, dressed in black and wearing ski masks, showing only their eyes. The men followed two others that were tying a glowing lighted rope along the seating, creating a secure fence against any fans straying into the aisle. Suddenly, rushing into the stadium was a stampede of horses, 6 in total. Few people would realize this, but all 6 horses were magnificent Frisian stallions, paired in teams of 2 and working to pull a large black coach. At the front of the coach, a man dressed in black and wearing a top hat controlled the magnificent stallions. He drove them down the aisle and to the center of the stadium, immediately in front of the ring. His control of the Frisian stallions and coach was magnificent, for the aisle seemed only a few feet wider than the coach. The hooves of the horses could easily be heard throughout the stadium as they raced to the wrestling mat. The coach had no windows. The wooden wheels had been fitted with strips of black leather to prevent the wheels from sliding on the concrete floor. The 6 stallions were breathing hard and looked labored, as if they had been pulling an extremely heavy load. Their nozzles bellowed out puffs of hot breath, appearing like plumes of smoke easily seen in the sudden chilled air. One of the shadowy characters that had helped to prepare the aisle for the coach's entry was now at the coach's side. He pulled a wooden handle on the door and moved back to a position by the rear wheel. Instead of the door opening, an orange glow began to break through the top of the coach. Like lava flowing down a volcano, orange glow moved down the sides of the coach. The roof opened and light poured out, and in less than a minute, the coach had split open enough to expose a man sitting on a seat. As the roof appeared to float out of sight, a wave of warm air enveloped everyone in the stadium. It came and went within a few seconds. The man, dressed entirely in red from his masked head to his laced knee-high boots, stood and opened his arms to the crowd. With the wide opening of his raised arms, Satan spoke, "My children, I love you all." The masked man stood tall in the now open coach. He turned to all corners of the stadium as he spoke. "Tonight, I will begin a journey for your enjoyment." His voice seemed electronically disguised with a low, very low pitch. Satan raised his arms even higher and then made a muscular pose with his biceps bulging as he slowly moved his fist inward, enlarging his biceps. The audience had not yet responded. Then, at an instantaneous moment, Everyone in the stadium applauded. The sound was deafening. Seldom had a crowd responded with such enthusiasm. And an unknown challenger, and never to someone challenging a beloved W.O.W. champion. Satan turned to his right and stepped down from the coach. Now holding out his arms in a welcoming gesture, Satan triumphantly walked to the ring as the crowd continued to applaud him. The coach had immediately resealed itself, and the coachman drove off, exiting by another large maintenance store. Dr. Mann walked to the edge of the ring as Satan moved to the top rope to enter the ring. Once inside, Dr. Mann grabbed Satan's left arm and raised it, proclaiming to the audience, "Here is a true champion, one worthy of your following." The crowd was responding to the positive, and the sounds within the stadium continued to be deafening. The Black Gothic band had offered discreet sounds in the background as the audience's acceptance of the challenger became apparent. The band jumped in with some well-placed bass rhythms, so subtle that most of the audience hadn't noticed the added tones. Michael Wade approached Dr. Mann and took the microphone, then spoke. "Please join me at the center of the ring." Michael Wade moved to his customary position at the center of the ring, and the Phoenix quickly moved forward, eager to speak to the audience. Softly taking the microphone from Michael Wade, the Phoenix spoke. "I must say that I am impressed. That entrance was not only exciting and entertaining, but it grabbed everyone's attention. You even have my attention." The Phoenix was not looking at Satan, though he was addressing him. "But theatrics do not make a champion, nor do all of the props that you have brought with you." The Phoenix was turning full circle to address the audience, though the message was to Satan. "The W.O.W. has asked me to wrestle an unknown challenger, and when this match is over, he will remain an unknown challenger." The Phoenix threw his arms up into the air and displayed his confidence to the crowd. The fans were again storming with approval. It seemed that the fans were now favoring both wrestlers. And I will stop there. That was reading 63. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, be safe and take care.